Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe continues. Because sending Godzilla to the astral plane, that's not enough. He was like, this story ain't over yet, so let's get into it for issue 3. But first, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like or hype, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so in our last talk, we saw the heroes throw just about everything at Godzilla, from pin particles to the crimson bands of Sidorak, and none of it worked. So eventually this led to Doctor Strange opening a portal to the astral plane, and with the help of the other heroes and villains, they all pushed the big guy through, only to still feel Godzilla shake their reality from the other side, which might have been something else that we'll talk about here in a moment. Because after this happened, we're told here that Godzilla wandered the astral plane for decades. He had come across and destroyed a number of ancient demons, and it came to the point where Dormammu couldn't ignore Godzilla any longer. So Dormammu confronted Godzilla, saying, "I didn't think the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth would resort to this kind of brutality, but I admire the directness." And he asked Godzilla, "What message do you carry from Doctor Strange, Beast?" Only for Godzilla to hit him with a right hook and then the atomic breath right after. And I could just imagine Dormammu turning to the mindless ones and being like, "No, go home and get the gun." Because as soon as Dormammu encountered Godzilla, he sent him back to Earth from the astral plane at the exact same moment in time where Godzilla left. But instead of arriving in New York, they arrived in Madripoor. So I imagine if Strange and the others had felt anything, it would have had to have been a result of this, just given the fact that Godzilla came back right after he left. And now in Madripoor, when Logan sees Godzilla, he immediately reaches out to Jean. So she's like, "Show me." And since he's rocking the whole patch attire, he's just like, right eyes open. And when she sees what he sees, Jean tells him that her and the others are an ocean away, but they'll be there in 10 minutes. Which is really more like 6, because they got in the Blackbird and they got that thing moving. And as soon as they arrive, Nightcrawler, Rogue, Colossus, Gambit, and Jean all meet up with Wolverine on one of the rooftops. And at this point, Logan, he's had enough time to suit up too. But right now, Cyclops uses the Blackbird to get himself and Charles in position, so the professor can try to reach out to Godzilla's mind and soothe the creature. And Scott's like, hey, if he can do it for Logan, he can do it for Godzilla. Though keep in mind, this is meant to be a very stealthy tactic as far as Charles sneaking into Godzilla's mind. Because while the others are here on the rooftop, there's a moment where Nightcrawler's like, maybe it's just misunderstood. So he asks Jean to connect them telepathically, but she's just like, no, because that would conflict with what the professor's doing right now. So instead, she goes with telekinesis. And it's almost like a green light for the other X-Men to attack, because as soon as Jean goes for it, Colossus and Wolverine follow up with a fastball special. But it's kind of funny though, because when Wolverine lands on Godzilla's chest, he just looks like this little bug, and he nearly gets squashed like one. But fortunately, Rogue is able to swoop in and stop Godzilla's hand before Logan gets his vital organs squeezed between his adamantium bones. But as Logan is just slicing away at Godzilla, he's like, man, it regenerates faster than me, like he's getting nowhere. Then he looks back and tells the others, no use, its hide's too thick, just to hear someone else respond saying, perhaps for you, Logan, but not for Magneto, master of magnetism. And he's just like, Charles thought perhaps his X-Men were outclassed. And as Logan feels Magneto taking a hold of his adamantium, Logan is basically like, I don't like where this is going, as Magneto uses Wolverine to drill right through Godzilla's chest. And you know, it's moments like this that just have me thinking like if you have metal inside of you or on you, to Magneto, you're not a person. He don't care. Like, he just showed up, saw Wolverine already on Godzilla, and Magneto let the intrusive thoughts win. And now this just sends Godzilla's eyes rolling back, which I'll probably make the title of this video. Magneto makes Godzilla's eyes roll back. Then again, that might send the wrong message. Don't want people clicking on the video and getting disappointed. But after doing this, Magneto believes that they're done here, only for Godzilla to get right back up and prove otherwise. And Magneto can't believe what he's seeing. But also what's crazy here is the fact that Wolverine is still inside there. And when Godzilla attacks with his atomic breath, Magneto's able to shield it, but he's like, man, I can still feel the heat in here. But it's also crazy because this whole moment is how Wolverine's able to get out. And the first thing he tells Magneto is, I'm gonna get you back for this. And you know, I'm not sure Wolverine is more upset that he was used in this way or the fact that it didn't work, because I imagine it has to be a bit of both. But even with Magneto having a hold on Logan, Godzilla's attack is just too much in the moment, and it sends the both of them flying back. And now for a moment here, we step away from Madripoor and we head over to Wakanda. Because if you guys remember, recently T'Challa left the heroes in New York so he could take the Mo-Man staff to Wakanda and talk to Shuri so she could look into the strange vibranium alloy. And now in Wakanda, there's a few things these guys got cooking up. And we see one of them in the background, but that's something we'll get to another time. But also, T'Challa had sent for the Dora Milaje to bring Banner to Wakanda. So Shuri comes to T'Challa, telling him that the Dora Milaje had found Banner, but she's like, are you sure you want him to bring him here? Because we know how crazy that can get. So T'Challa tells her yes, because he needs more time to work on the project. Then he gives Shuri a box, telling her to give this to Banner with his compliments. And we're not told what's in it just yet. But it's very clear that this is making Shuri nervous, because she's like, is this what I think it is? Is giving it to Banner a good idea? We are trying to save the world, not destroy it, right? So T'Challa tells her, sometimes one feels like the other. Place Banner on our shores. Godzilla will come to us. The X-Men will see to it. Meanwhile, back over in Madripoor, the city skyline is reeking of brimstone. People looking around like, somebody smell rotten eggs? Because Nightcrawler is teleporting like crazy to get as many people out of the way of Godzilla as he can. And when he does, there's a moment here where Kurt comes across this huge barrel of hot sauce. So he grabs it and bamps it up fairly close to Godzilla's face. And he tells Cyclops batter up. And Kurt even tells him, we tried this against Krakoa in the Danger Room once. So Scott hits the shot and he's like, hey, nah, I must have been dead when y'all did that. Because he's thinking all this is going to do is make Godzilla angrier. And I mean, really, all it does is just make Godzilla sneeze. So there's that. But when Kurt grabbed the hot sauce, I thought he was going for the eye. But nah, they just blow it up in front of Godzilla. There's a sneeze, and that's it. And I mean, it's a nasty sneeze because it's Godzilla snot all over the place. But it doesn't really do much for them beyond that. And at this time, Cyclops gets a message from Black Panther that we'll talk more about in a moment. But also with Charles managing to get into Godzilla's mind, he says here, Godzilla, I mean you no harm. I wish only to communicate. I enter your mind to let you know we wish to coexist in peace. And now, much like the other Godzilla vs. X-Men story that we covered, which was something totally separate, but much like that story, Godzilla's thoughts aren't formed in words. So when Charles looks into Godzilla's mind, all he picks up is a black heart and darker thoughts. And this brings him to the conclusion that there's no reasoning with this creature. Godzilla's a force of nature, and it's a horror for Charles to witness. And now this message coming from T'Challa, this is where he tells the X-Men to bring Godzilla to Wakanda. So Scott just tells T'Challa like, man, we barely got this thing under control. He tells him we haven't been able to stop it or even contain it. So right there, T'Challa's like, I have several surprises up my gauntlet, Cyclops. Godzilla will fall. And see, now that's that king talk. But back over with the other X-Men, we get this really cool moment that starts with Gambit and Rogue, because they end up taking these gigantic cards off of the Lady Luck casino sign. And Gambit's just like, follow my lead. So he charges the huge playing cards from the sign. And Rogue is like, you charge them up, I'll shuffle and deal. And I mean, they get everybody involved here. Jean, Colossus, Magneto, Nightcrawler. And each of them take one of these huge charged up playing cards and they just chuck them at Godzilla. And I mean, Kurt, he bamps his. And even when he does, he's just like, poor Godzilla, because Godzilla's catching this whole hand. Every card at the same time, only for it to knock him back and send him crashing down on the Princess Bar, which if anything was the one place Logan was trying to salvage out here, because they just redecorated the place. But then this is followed by Charles telling Godzilla that he has a message for him, just before connecting T'Challa, who connects a telepathic fist, as he goes on to say, Wakanda challenges you. Come and face a real king. Come and face the Black Panther. If you dare. And almost immediately, Godzilla heads to the ocean to make his way to Wakanda. And it's almost like Godzilla's over here like, all right, Black Panther, you gonna smack me? You gonna smack me? Because Godzilla needs to get his lick back. And speaking of people getting their lick back, it's in this very moment where we see Dormammu still laid out on the beach. And he's over here talking about how he knows Doctor Strange is watching and likely enjoying this. And he says here that he's going to make Strange regret bringing this attack to him. And now these guys aren't the only ones who aren't letting things slide around here. Because as the X-Men are heading to Wakanda in the Blackbird, Wolverine looks at Magneto and he's like, hey, next time you use me as a drill bit, you're going to be a blood donor. And he's looking at Magneto like, don't think I forgot. But also around this time, Magneto lets them know that he's not going to be able to stick around. Cyclops reaches out to Black Panther to let him know that the target's inbound. And Xavier tells T'Challa, though he's not happy to say this, he believes that they'll need to kill this beast because it lives only to destroy. And right now over in Wakanda, as Bruce arrives, he's met by Shuri, and he lets her know how prior to this he was off the grid, working. But at this time, he's caught up now. But also Banner knows that this is one of those things that he couldn't just sit out of. And on top of that, he's like, I have an idea what Panther is thinking. There's a high probability that what's in that box was borrowed from another Avenger. So Shuri tells him yup, and she hands him the box, while telling Bruce compliments of T'Challa. And of course, when Bruce opens the box, he looks inside and he finds Pym particles. And then he points up and he's like, I'm guessing those are vibranium. And that's what Shuri tells him, the monster seems to have a weakness. to a new alloy containing this metal. And that's when we look above Bruce's head and we see this giant-sized vibranium hammer and this giant-sized vibranium axe. And I'm just like, man, I know the Great Mound got a huge chunk missing out of it now. And this is where Bruce is like, all right, Hulk, you ready to come out and play giant size? But that'll do it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like or a hype. And let me know your thoughts on Godzilla destroys the Marvel Universe so far, because I'm having fun. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.